We're live.
I think we're live.
Yeah.
How exciting.
It's strange now because we don't press the button.
I know, it's weird. It's because we've got this team around
It's remote.
us that does things for us.
Do you think we'll have a makeup crew in a few months?
Well, I'd
Not that
like,
you need one.
I'd like to hope
Put that
so.
out there.
I know, it'd just be nice though, wouldn't it? You know,
Yeah.
we've got all this equipment now, we've got the lighting, and
Yeah.
it'd just be nice to have a little hair
Yeah.
and makeup team.
Anyway, welcome.
You need to do the sharing.
I've got to do the
thing.
sharing. Welcome to Clement on the Sofa. I'm now going to be rude for 2 minutes. Welcome to BHBN Hospital Radio in Birmingham. I shall now hand over to my assistant. I've already made a mistake.
You silly boy.
Right, okay.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Claire Russell, and as you know, this is Todd. We are here this morning on the sofa at BHBN Hospital Radio, and this is part of a monthly series. We get together once a month on a sofa, always a different sofa, and we talk about different issues that people in business are facing. And we've done all sorts of different topics over the months. And we decided that for this episode, we got the opportunity to come here, first of all, and be here.
Thank you to
very
Callum,
much.
who's
Thank
just
you.
there.
Thank you
He's
to
just
Callum
there.
and all of the other guys at BHBN Radio. They invited us to come and use their sofa, which they have very kindly moved into their studio for us.
This is a permanent feature as well. We've actually left a mark here.
That's
this
exciting.
is staying here. This is like, this could be a new thing. I've gone on a tangent again.
I think we also should maybe send them a photo that they could put on the wall of us just here above the sofa.
Like a gold disc.
Yeah.
We're getting way above our station right now.
Anyway, we're going off on a tangent here.
Again.
So we got the opportunity to come along and do an episode from here, and that seemed a really appropriate time for us to tackle the subject that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about mental health. This is an issue that we've been talking about tackling on our show for quite a while, and something that we feel is really important, something that's very close to both of our hearts for a number of reasons which we'll explain, and something that we think should be talked about much more openly. So that's what we're going to do today. We've had a few questions and comments already from people, which we will tackle.
We've got those.
If you're watching, we would ask you to please share this. So you will see on your screen that there's a button to share, which means you can share the broadcast right now, and lots of other people will then see our broadcast. And if during our talk you have any questions or comments that you would like to put in the public forum, then please do. We will pick up some comments during the course of the broadcast and answer them if we can, and then any that we don't manage to get to, if there are too many for us to pick them up, we will come back and answer them all afterwards. We always do.
Definitely. A few good mornings before we go on. So morning to Ivan, thanks for sharing, to Vicky Shanks, to Joe, my partner and business partner. I always get it around the wrong way. Very important that she's my partner before my business partner. Morning to Jay, to Kylie, to Hercules. Kylie and Hercules, what wicked names we have on our show. Caroline, Mark, Rob, Simon Leach, and howdy to Dion Buckingham Brown. What a name. Yeah, welcome to Clement on the Sofa.
So thank you all for being here. So we're talking about mental health. So I wanted to start first. We don't have a script. Shall we start by saying that? We never have a script.
We do have custard creams,
We
though.
do. Callum has done us proud. We've got hobnobs, Kit Kats and custard cream. So all the
Amazing.
important things are sorted.
But we don't have a script. We honestly don't have a script. We're going to go with comments that we've had sent to us already.
Yes.
And anything that you want to talk about or you want to raise awareness of, we've shared this everywhere. So there's going to be people with interest in mental health who've been affected by it, who work in mental health, watching this probably on the replay because it's 10:45, so they're probably working right now. So if there's anything you want to raise an awareness within business and mental health together, then please do drop it in the comments, and we'll do our best, as always, to talk about those.
We will. So what do we mean by mental health? So we're talking about the mental and emotional state in which an individual person is in the best position they can be to deal with the ordinary stresses of life. Now, the important thing for us to say is we're not medical professionals. We're not coming at this from a medical angle, and we're not claiming to have medical knowledge. We don't. We only
have letters behind us, not after our name.
Yes,
Basically is what we're saying.
Absolutely. We're not coming at it from that angle. We are coming in it from an angle where we both have first-hand experience of mental health issues, and we're happy to talk about those, and we will be doing. And we are business owners who feel that this is something that is really, really important that we tackle and that people feel comfortable talking about. And if we can help people to become a little bit, in a very small way, to become more comfortable talking about things like this, then that we've done something great.
That's kind of where we're going with Claire and Todd on the sofa, is talking about the stuff in business that most people don't talk about, because we're quite happy to talk about it. I don't know why. We're very honest about talking about it, and it's a good thing within what we're talking about today with mental health, because actually talking about it can be a really powerful thing to do as well. So we thought we'd just put that out there today, because in the business arena that we live, we know of people who struggle, and there's a lot of comments and stuff that will come in today about it as well. So we just wanted to tackle it. So it's quite a daunting subject, really, isn't it? I think this is the first time we've been nervous about doing something, because we want to do it right.
Yeah, it feels like a big responsibility to talk about something like this, because this is something that 1 in 4 people will experience mental health problems at some point in their life.
It's incredible stat.
That's massive. That's a huge number of people, and we take the responsibility of sitting here and talking about this in this context and this forum really, really seriously. But hopefully, all of you that are listening will get something and take something useful away from today.
Jay's just said his good friend Neil Walker is doing some amazing things in this space, and hopefully he's watching it. Jay, share it, let him watch it, then I'll be really interested to see what he thinks. As you say, we just want to get this out there. Morning to Sally. I know she was keen on watching. She's now joined. She's obviously found somehow to move her business around our show. Morning to John Davis, who's just joined. So where should we kick off? Where should we start? I feel like we need to start somewhere.
Shall we start with us?
Should we get the script out? Or
no, we don't have a script.
We don't have a script.
Shall we start with us?
Yeah.
Shall we talk a little bit about our own experience and why this is something that's important to us?
Definitely.
Would you like to start?
No, you can start. It right back.
Okay. So I've had first-hand experience of mental health issues, and this is something that you and I have talked about previously. I experienced a time a couple of years ago now where I suffered from very, very severe depression and anxiety, and it was the most horrendous time of my life, really, because I didn't know how to talk about it to people. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't understand why it was happening. Before that, I would never have imagined that I would have been somebody that would experience mental health issues.
It's the whole "it won't happen to me" kind of thing, isn't it? You think you're strong, and it happens to the strongest, because you're quite a strong person.
Yeah.
I mean, you're one of the strongest people I know, will-wise. Don't cross her, honestly.
Oh, don't mess with
me.
So
you would think that, well, this won't happen to me because I'm a strong-minded person, and I've got all my eggs in my basket, kind of thing. I'm okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes things happen that can take people down a road that they just simply don't expect to end up going down. And for me, it was a combination of extreme stress in the workplace, and I guess that coupled with some more physical issues. I think those things combined led me to experience really severe depression and anxiety, and the combination of those two things was horrific. It was a really toxic combination, and for a few months I completely lost sight of who I was. I didn't even recognise myself when I looked in the mirror. And so when I talk to other people now, since I've talked more openly about that, I've had lots of people say to me, "Oh God, I so understand what you're talking about. I've experienced that. I thought it was just me."
And all of a sudden it makes them feel less isolated, which is a real key part of mental health, is the isolation. And we were talking on the way over in the car, or in our crew van, about the isolation, which is such a key part of certainly depression and anxiety. You feel isolated. But of course, running a small business, like we were talking about last night in this room on the radio, you are isolated. Because you are on your own, and there isn't a huge department or a big building, and it's kind of a really bad combination, I think, certainly in the small business arena that we hang around in.
I think so. I think that's one of the probably the most fundamental factors for people that are in business that can end up leading them to suffer with those sorts of problems, because you can feel really isolated, can't you? You can end up feeling very on your own if you're running a small business at home and you don't have a team around you, and you spend a lot of time sat behind your laptop. You're not necessarily engaging with people in real life so much as you probably need to, and is healthy for you.
Got a comment from Mark Brimson, who's joined. Morning, Mark. How are you?
Mark.
It's a very important issue for him. He became acutely aware that he had an issue when he was working for himself, so he set up the Glow Foundation, which you should Google and check out. It's phenomenal what Mark's done this year, and he's raised £20,000 for charity. Now feels much calmer about life and in a good place. But I think it's probably, Mark, I'm presuming, but it's probably because of the awareness of it. Was there a time when you lost sight of who you were, that you didn't realise you'd lost sight of it?
Absolutely.
So you're not aware of it. You're
Yeah.
just like, well, this is how it is now, and you wake up and that's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
And the only way you can
totally.
change it is to be aware. Is that?
Yeah, definitely. And it was other people. I think it was me finding the courage to say to somebody, I don't feel well, I don't feel right, there's things going on that I don't understand, and then those people that were close to me then being able to help me to start to understand what was going on and then get help.
Vicky Shanks, morning Vicky, how are you?
Hi, Vicky.
Check out Vicky Shanks if you're interested in mental health. Vicky is a huge campaigner, and a great TEDx talk you should find. Vicky said more openness is critical, but that won't happen until there is more understanding and acceptance, and that's pretty much what's driving today on our small platform, that we just want to put it out there that it's okay to talk about it. And there are people joining us now that are quite openly putting on Facebook comments that, as Joe House just said, awareness is key, and the universe to the universe and everything. Absolutely, Joe.
Yeah.
We know what you're talking about there. And Dion Buckingham Brown says it becomes your life when you're in that dark place.
It does. It absolutely does, because it is so consuming and so overwhelming for a lot of people. I think it can literally just take over every aspect of your life until you find a way to talk to people and get help and deal with it. And that can be so very different for every single person. Every person who experiences mental health issues will have a different experience of it.
Yeah.
Depression is not the same for every person. Anxiety is not the same for every person that experiences it. Every person that experiences those problems will have a totally different experience of it, and we should never, assume that we know what somebody else is going through.
No.
It's about listening, isn't it, and making sure that there is that space for people to be able to talk about what they're experiencing.
Now, quite obviously, you're a lady and I'm a man. Now, it's all right for you, because ladies, you talk about stuff a lot. You're really good at talk. God, she can talk, right? You talk a lot, and that's good, right?
They're coming from you.
Don't look at me like that with that
That's coming
slanty
from
eye
you.
look. Yeah, ladies talk about things a lot more than men. And Mark
Yeah.
Lotsu's just put a really good comment. Morning, Mark. How are you? He's put this: the truth. I think as a guy, I always feel like it's not okay to talk about your emotions, and I think that is a man thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure John would agree. I'm sure Callum would agree. That's in the studio this morning that. You kind of feel like as a man you have to carry on. I'm not saying sweeping statement every man in the world. Obviously there are men that will talk about their problems.
Yeah.
But do you find from your experiences that it's more likely to be the females that talk about their problems openly than the men, or not?
I think going from the people that I know and the conversations that I've had, I think certainly, anecdotally I would say yes, that women tend to find it more easy to talk about the problems that they're having, but it really depends on the circumstances, doesn't it, and what's going on around them. For a while I found it really hard to talk about it because I was this high-flying successful career woman, and to admit that I was struggling emotionally, for me that was like admitting failure. So,
and I think maybe that's where guys come from, because we're traditionally, a long time ago, hunter-gatherers. If you want to get really primitive, it was our job to run everything and your job to do other things, and you were more emotionally connected. So
yeah.
I guess when you get into a high-powered career and you are the go-to person and you are the driver, you kind of assume that role, you take on that role, and then it isn't okay to say, I'm not as solid as you think I am. And I think there's a few people in here have said, I hope bosses are watching, because 1 in 4 people are suffering, and it's not okay to talk about it yet.
Yeah.
It isn't, is it?
No, it's still far more of a taboo subject than it should be. If you had some sort of physical health condition, if you had a heart complaint or arthritis or, any sort of physical health condition, you wouldn't not feel able to talk about it, would you? Unless it was something really personal, maybe. But, people do.
It's a bit like you have to campaign for guys to check their bits, because guys don't talk about stuff.
Yeah, that's a very personal area, isn't it? But, if you had, a heart condition or something, I'm pretty sure that that's not something that you would be. Would you be afraid of talking about it?
I just wouldn't want to. Wouldn't want to accept I had something wrong with me.
Right.
And I'm not sure if that's just me, and the guys watching the stream now, if you want to chip in. a lot of the guys that I speak to don't want to admit they've got something wrong with them, and it's like there isn't a normal. We said at the beginning, normal. We're having a baby in July, not a spot. Shock news. Myself and John's laughing at the back. Myself and Joe are having a baby in July, and it's all measured on normal. There is no normal, but I guess you kind of feel like you have to fit in, and as a guy, I feel like you don't want to admit that you've got something not quite right.
Yeah.
And we've all got shit you've got to carry around. You've got baggage and stuff, and the weird thing is talking about it can make it really much better, but there's this stigma that you can't talk about it.
No, I get that.
There's some really great comments coming in. I'm apologies if I miss any of them, because there was a lot of comments coming in.
We will respond to everybody's
we always
comments.
go back. Chris Compton, someone coined the phrase, it's okay to be not okay, which is really interesting. Rob Levick, you become the expert at hiding it from others, and it's more difficult to talk about it. Isn't that the truth? Caroline Kempster, morning Caroline. I believe that women are better at going to the doctor and saying things aren't right, whether physical or mental, which was my point, more succinctly put. Dave Sharp, morning Dave.
Hi Dave.
Dave Sharp again, look, you see, he's following us around. In a good way, Dave. No restricted view this morning, Dave, by the way. That's a private joke for you there. Very hard for men to talk openly, in my experience. I wish there was a more men-only groups. You see, the problem with men-only groups is it's like men-only networking, sexist. So we're in this. I feel that like you can have women-only networking, and that's okay. But if you have men-only networking, well, why is it men-only? And I do sometimes think that the way that the world is moved towards equality and stuff, which is good, and I absolutely think it's good. I still think it's okay for women to do stuff on their own, but as Dave just said there isn't men-only groups. And also, it's kind of weird, like, well, I've just done antenatal classes, we've just finished them, and we've got a group chat for the guys, and there's no interaction in there. We're not sharing stuff in there, and that's just private, and we're not sharing it.
I was just going to ask that, Dave, thank you for that comment, but I actually really do wonder if men-only groups of any description would actually be a place where men would then feel comfortable talking more about their problems. I'm not sure they would. I think most of the men that I know would be even less inclined, because there seems to be this issue of bravado and
Hercules has just put that very point. He says, yes, Todd, but it goes way back to the whole macho thing that guys try to portray, because we do need to do that. We walked in here today, we've got all this kit, myself and John carried all the stuff, and you just walked in
and did my hair,
and that's okay. We don't mind, do we, John? But we're the machos. John's driven here, and you're not even using the sat-nav properly, and we've had to get ourselves here. So we do feel like we're kind of like, we've got to make stuff happen.
Yeah.
And if you were running an army, if I was in charge of an army, as Joe always says, if someone got shot, I'd leave them there and keep going. Keep going. And I kind of feel like, as a macho man, as an alpha male, admitting you've got something wrong with your brain is a big thing.
Yeah, it is. No, I would agree. So, talk to us about your experiences. Why is this something that you were really keen to talk about?
A lot of people that I work with or friends have mental health, but I've also got a keen interest in autism. My son has autism. I'm undiagnosed but do have, which is why I'm a bit wild and a bit crazy. So I think differently, which is good in some respects but not good in other respects. And a lot of people that I go networking with are kind of on the spectrum of learning difficulties, which is a thing that you don't like to talk, because it's not difficult, it's just I think differently, and lots of these other people think differently, and that can really stress you out when you're kind of a square peg in a round hole kind of situation. So school was weird because I didn't quite do what the other people did, and my son's having the same situation now, and you have to have a situation where you fit in. It's a bit like coming to a hospital, there's normal, and you have to do these kinds of things, and it's very difficult when you don't see the world the way everyone else sees it. And for a long time I just fitted in, and it literally drove me insane. I was bonkers. I was hitting things, smashing stuff up, and now I'm trying to channel it, so I'm like we do every day, do what we want to do, and try and use what's really powerful about my brain in the right way. And autism is a thing that whenever I mention it, there's loads of people say, "Oh, my child's got autism," but they don't talk about it. And I'm really proud that my son has autism, because he sees the most amazing things, in stuff. He's the type of person that'll walk into a room and call out the fat person straight away. She's fat. Okay, that's a very logical thing to say, but we don't say that.
Yeah.
But also he'll see things that you won't see in other things, and that's what's helped me to set up the business that we run now, because Joe and I work very much together, but I'll see patterns and things and stuff that other people don't, and often that's a bad thing, because I'll spot all the mistakes, and JT does the same thing. But I think it's important to talk about it because everyone is different, as you said.
Yeah,
no one
absolutely.
experiences it in the same way.
They don't, and the more we talk, the more that we all talk about things, the more that we share our experiences and ideas and the things that have helped us and the things that haven't helped us, and that can only be a good thing, can't it?
James Chisholm, really interesting comment. I still have a knee-jerk reaction to people asking me how I am. I catch myself more now, but they're still there all the time with me, protecting me from people finding out I wasn't coping. So James, who I know very well, morning James, its stock answer was I'm okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay to say you're not okay, which is the comment someone put above there. And I think it's really important to say that. Vicky Sanks just says autism is awesome, which it absolutely is. And as she said that, Taz Thornton, who is awesome, has just appeared on the stream. Morning, Taz.
We had a couple of questions or comments that came in before we went live this morning, so we'll just tackle those. The first one was from Simon Leach. Hello, Simon. I know you're watching.
Simon.
And Simon asked, as a business owner, Simon is a business owner and employer and employs a number of people. What can he, as a business owner and employer, do to help to support anybody that works for him with mental health issues?
Wow, that's a great question.
A brilliant question. And actually, if only more employers actually had that attitude, I think life would be generally better.
From a business angle, if you want it to be really selfish as a business owner, if you look after your workforce, you'll make more money. Because if they break down and if they're not doing the job and they lose they lose who they are, you're not going to get a good product out of them. You're not going to have a happy workforce. And if you look at certainly over in the East, where they look after the health of their workforce more than anything else, you know, they're exercising, they're doing yoga in the morning, they're doing all the things that would really help your mental health, they get more productivity. And you look at what they're doing over there, but they care more about their workforce and how they feel, which I think is incredibly important.
Yeah, I was looking at some statistics earlier on, which was talking about people in employment. You know, we're talking about this from a sort of a business owner angle, but please don't think that means that this is not relevant to people in employment. Of course it is. I was looking at some statistics related to people that are in employment, and 1 in 6 people has taken a sick day over the last year because they were feeling stress. Now, obviously, stress means different things to different people, but that suggests they're not in a mental or emotional state where they're dealing with the stress that they're coping with.
Stress is almost acceptable, I think, to say. I don't think I'd accept. I don't think I'd say I was stressed, but do you feel like you wouldn't say I've had a breakdown, but you'd happily say you're just stressed, because stress is like, oh, I'm just busy. You could kind of like hide it if you wanted to. Yeah,
but I mean, stress. It is an identifiable, condition, and it's a condition that has a terrible effect on people's general health and well-being, and so it's something that employers must take really seriously. So sorry, Simon, back to your question. We're sort of going off on a tangent here, but
again,
first and foremost is to create a culture in which your employees feel comfortable to be able to talk about the issues that they're dealing with. And now that seems like a really simple and straightforward thing to say. It's not, clearly. But I think that has to be the starting point for every business, is making sure that culture exists in your business so that your employees feel able to come and talk to whoever is the appointed person, or whoever they feel most comfortable talking to about how they are feeling. And that is the most fantastic starting point, isn't it?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I mean, I have a small team, and it's easier to keep in contact, and we know if someone's not, if they're just not feeling well, if they're just not into it. But I think the bigger you get, it becomes more important to have an open door somewhere where you can go in, and you almost need to put it into the routine of, like on a Thursday afternoon at 2:00, we talk about this and we put it out there and we get people in. You almost need to make it just so acceptable that it's just like the water cooler moment, or the cigarette outside, or whatever you do. It needs to be that important in the business, because 1 in 4 of your business, if you employ 400 people, 25 of them could be suffering,
absolutely,
or challenged, or whatever we want to call it, at that time. And it's really important. There's a few interesting comments I just want to shout out before we go any further. Steve Westrock said the first thing to do is talk to them, don't make assumptions, which is really important. And Dion Buckingham Brown says a lot of employers need to be reminded of this. Share it with them. That's what this is all about, hopefully. Joe House says stress still has a massive stigma around it, so she's disagreeing with me, which is fine. around, and it's a word that scares the pants off employers because of course it would probably mean time off, paid sick leave and all that kind of thing as well. I'm wondering whether you can stop that from happening in the first place if you talk about it. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Callum, who's there, says the American companies have a great philosophy that take Google and TK Maxx, where his sister works. They have a better philosophy on the whole mental health side of things as well. There were some great comments coming through here. I'll just leave you with this one before I move back over to Claire. Ian Dixon says, a top tip: open every team meeting with "How are you feeling?" like a round robin. I really like that.
Absolutely.
How are you feeling? Not how are things. How are you feeling? Which is really powerful. So
because
thanks, Ian, for that.
That's where it all starts, isn't it? You know, if people feel comfortable that they can start to talk about how they are feeling, then that's a really fantastic foundation to build on. I was talking to somebody today. Yesterday, Sarah Parrin, who I believe is watching, who runs a business in rugby, and she was telling me about something that she's introduced in her business, which I thought was a fantastic thing to do. So they've created Fun Fridays. So they take some time out of the business on a Friday afternoon, they get all the team together, they make lunch together. So somebody brings in all the stuff and makes lunch for everybody, and they sit and they eat lunch all together. It's the only time in the whole week that they can do this.
I really like
and
that.
They sit and they just talk, you know, and they talk about any difficult things that they've experienced, or, you know, any successes that they've had, any problems that they're experiencing, and that for me is a great way to begin to build that sort of culture in your business.
Yeah. Joe, my partner Joe, sent me some cool stuff this morning, and there's a few things that really stood out, and one of them we've already spoken about, which is 1 in 4 people experience mental health issues. But the one thing I wanted to really highlight was that the signs to look out for. So there's lots of signs when someone has a stroke, for example. You know, you're looking for the things, or for first aid. But for someone with a mental health challenge or an issue, the things to look out for are they have feelings of isolation, lethargy, lack of self-esteem, relentlessness, irritability, hopelessness, or a lack of interest in things that they would normally enjoy, which comes back to you losing your identity. And I think it's really important that you talk about these things, but it's also important that you actually keep an eye on your friends and your family and your work colleagues, just to spot changes, because we are creatures of habit, and we pretty much do the same stuff and we behave the same way. I'd have thought, unless something huge change in your life, but if they start to behave differently, I think it's up to all of us to keep an eye out for each other.
It's kind of making a point, isn't it, of having that awareness, because we're all so busy, and life,
we create the busyness, don't we?
The pace of life now just seems to be so much faster than you know it may have been in earlier generations, and so it's actually making a point of having an eye on those people around you, whether that's people in your personal life or your business life, and as you say, just watching out for any changes. And then if you see something that seems different, to actually feel comfortable to talk to somebody and say, how are you feeling? And open up that conversation, and you know, hopefully that will lead to them feeling comfortable to talk about it.
There's some really, really brilliant comments coming through here. There's some great people who I know are experts in the field in the comments as well. So as well as listening to this, please do go back and read all the comments if you're watching the replay now, because sometimes the comments don't show up. There is some great advice in here, and I'm trying to read as many as I can. Some of them are huge, and I struggle slightly with reading out loud as well, so there's crazy brain of mine, so I don't want to make myself look like a fool, because I feel silly, which again is, you know, daft, isn't it? Joe Howe says, yes, definitely agree about talking about it and being open and talking about it. She meets people on her workshops that are scared to admit they're feeling stressed in case their colleagues or bosses judging them, and I think we're all afraid of being judged. I often talk about the primitive sort of beginnings of humankind, because I'm fascinated by how that affects our psychology. But years ago, you know, when we were in jungles hitting each other around the head with sticks, you were judged, and if you got something wrong, it was a bad thing. I think now we should be in an era where it's not a bad thing, and we accept that we're all different, and we work together as a team. It's the only reason the humans are at the top of the tree, is because we work together, and sometimes it's easy to forget that. But being judged and feeling you're not good enough is a really... It just comes through everything, doesn't it?
It does.
In work, in driving a car, you know, someone toots at you, get angry, you want to protect yourself, and, you know, we had a couple of toots on the way here because we went the wrong roundabouts, and you could get out and protect yourself, but actually you could just accept, you know, everybody's different, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And people, you will get judged. You know, we accidentally judge people when you meet someone that look you up and down. It's just a primitive, is this person a threat kind of thing, but I think inside you're thinking, oh, are they looking at me funny? Is my hair? Oh, I've got snot hanging out my nose. Is my hair funny? And you've got that thing going on where you're always worrying what people will think. but you'll never know what people think unless they tell you.
No.
So we're all kind of worrying what each other think all the time, and it's fascinating, really. Thank you, Ben, for your comment. It's a huge comment. I shall go and read that a little bit later on, but basically, you know, it helps being able to speak openly with someone. It helps him cope with what's going on in his life. It helps him personally, so that's great. So I'm pleased you joined and tuned in.
This might be a good point, just to say, for anybody that is watching today or watches the replay and has issues that they would like to talk about, there are a number of resources that are available, openly available to all of us. Now I'm going to list them, but what I'll do is later, in the comments, I'll give some contact details for each of these organisations. So the sort of top resources really, and these are organisations that really specialise in these sorts of issues. Mind is a huge mental health charity, and they really specialise in helping and advising people that are having mental health issues. The Samaritans, I have a real vested interest in talking about them as Samaritans, so I'm going to come on to that in a second.
Sure.
But the Samaritans is a fantastic organisation where you can talk in complete confidence about anything that is worrying you. And I think a lot of people think that, you know, you have to be suicidal to phone the Samaritans, and that just isn't true. You know, any sort of issue that you are having that you need emotional support with, you can talk to the Samaritans about, and the contact details we'll put, as I say, in the thread for you. And then Sane, Time to Change and Heads Together are all organisations that have a real specialism in advising people with any sort of mental health
What we'll
issues.
probably do with those is we'll edit the description of this live, so we'll go back up and put those at the very top. So if you're watching this on the replay, they now should be up there. A couple of things that you can to help yourself if you don't want to talk about it, but you need to help yourself. There's a few things that you can do as a small business owner, which is where we're coming from today. Obviously we've gone into the wider area of it. Building a routine can be really important, because having a routine kind of brings some normality back to it. Often as a small business owner, you know how it feels, you know, wake up every day, it's all different. So building a routine can really help. Break up your tasks so stuff don't seem so daunting. I think a lot of the time when things feel daunting, you feel swamped, and that can certainly make you feel not great. And think about the environment that you work in. Have a clear desk, make it feel like you're in calm. I think if you're in a very busy place, and often if you're working for someone else and you can't control all of that, just your desk space is something you can really control. And think about technology. Think of these wonderful things we've got in 2017 that can really help us with productivity and thinking. You can have meditation apps on your phone. You can meditate whilst you're walking to the office. All these things can really help. Get some exercise. It's just the old classic, you know, go for a walk. But actually, I was really stressed the other day in the office. I don't say stressed, that's a silly thing to say in the context of this stream. I was just a bit annoyed with myself, and I thought, you know, I'm not getting anything done, so I just went for a walk, and it's amazing how much better I felt with a walk.
We were talking about this the other day. It's so easy when you are running your own business to end up sitting at your desk for hours and hours and hours and hours and not taking a break. And it's so important to just get out and get a bit of fresh air, go and have a walk, do a bit of exercise. It has a massive impact certainly on your mental health and your physical health, and they're so closely linked. You know, I know for me, when I was at sort of at my lowest point, I found it impossible to motivate myself to go and do any exercise, but actually by making myself do it, it made such a big difference. It really did make a big difference. And getting a bit of headspace, and being present in the moment. You know, the other thing that I think people talk about mindfulness a lot, and you know, you don't need
which is good. It's good they're talking about it.
Absolutely, mindfulness is a brilliant thing.
But there is a danger that it's become a trendy thing rather than an important thing, I think.
But do you know what? Mindfulness in this context, it's just about being present in the moment and grounding yourself in the moment. You know, I know when I experienced really bad anxiety, that the easiest way for me to get myself out of that really anxious place, and if I was having a panic attack, was to literally ground myself in the moment.
Physically put your feet on the floor.
I used to press my heels and grind my heels into the ground, and it grounded me and brought me back into the room, because sometimes I felt like I'd completely left the room.
We've got 10 minutes-ish. I want to read out a comment from Jamie, and then I want to move on to the Samaritans, if that's okay.
Yep.
So Jamie Jodie Shanks, morning Jamie, how are you? I have depression and anxiety, and until I started talking to a professional, it felt like I had no one. A professional helped me to see the light within the dark. So get talking to people. One of the other tips that Joe sent me was just remember your friends. It's okay to talk to your friends. That's what they're there for. If you're a bloke, go for a beer. If you're a girl, go and do some knitting. You know, No? Okay. But just remember that your friends, it's talking about it just almost seems too simple. It's just too simple to talk. Talking can't do anything. Go for a walk can't do anything. But actually, why don't you talk and walk at the same time? It's such a powerful thing to do, isn't it?
Absolutely is. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and go for that help wherever the best place for you is. There's all these resources now that are available to us, and we'll put contact details for all of those different organisations. But a great place to start is with a friend that you trust and you feel that you can confide in. But if it's not right for you or comfortable for you to talk to a friend, go and get some professional help. These guys are trained and qualified, and they know how to help you. That was the hardest thing for me, and I know lots of people that I've talked to have said the same thing. I was talking to Sally Mayer about it. If you're here, Sally,
Morning,
good morning. She had CBT. Which helped her to deal.
What's
I know
CBT?
Cognitive behavioural therapy, and I know she doesn't mind me talking about this because we talked about it yesterday. She had cognitive behavioural therapy to help her to deal with her anxiety. I had CBT as well, and it's a fantastic form of therapy. Like anything, it doesn't work for everybody. It's not always the right solution for every person because everybody's experience is different. So go and get advice, talk to a doctor, look at the options. It may be that you need medication, and that I think for some people there's still a stigma attached, but if you need to have medication to help you to get through the worst time of what you're experiencing, then
you're only here once. You don't get a medal at the end of it if you come out at the end of it. I've never had any medication.
No.
Here's a medal. Please go forward to heaven. There's no proof that that's going to happen.
That was the worst thing for me. I was afraid of taking medication because I thought that said something about me, and ultimately I couldn't have got through it without medication. And then I had CBT, and then I had talking therapy. And don't be afraid to ask for help and to go and get the right advice and support to deal with what you're dealing with.
Samaritans. So I've always thought, before I've met you and other people that I know that are involved in the Samaritans, that you only call them, it's a bit like 999. So you wouldn't call an ambulance unless you were in real trouble. You just walk to the doctors. And I always felt like with the Samaritans, I always thought, and I know the messages are a lot better now, that you only call the Samaritans if it's really serious because it's an emergency service and you don't want to take people's time up. And that's not true, is it? You
No.
can call the Samaritans for any number of reasons. So for the last sort of 5, 6, 7 minutes now, we talk about your experience with the Samaritans and let people know what it's all about.
I would love to. So I got involved with the Samaritans about a year 18 months ago, and it was something I'd always wanted to do, some volunteering. When I decided that I was going to change everything that I did with my business, one of the things that I wanted to achieve through that was to have more time to do volunteering. And the reason that I was very drawn to the Samaritans was because of the issues that I'd had, my own mental health issues. And I was very lucky because I'd had people that I could talk to, and I had lots of people around me that supported me. But I was very aware that there are so many people that just don't have that support network. They don't have families that care about them in the way that mine do. So I went and inquired about the Samaritans, did the training, and I now volunteer regularly with the Samaritans.
You give a lot of time to the Samaritans.
I do.
I've spoken to you and you've had 2 hours sleep because you finished Samaritans and you've got to work. So
yeah, I do, and it's really hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it's also the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. You and I were talking last night about how important it is, how we both believe it's important that you use the experiences that you have had to do something good, to help
whilst
people.
you're here, learn something, share it,
to give something back to people. And I've had some experiences, okay, they were difficult experiences, and it was hard, but I've learned a lot from that, and I feel that I've got a responsibility to use that in a way that's helpful to other people. So
it's a huge responsibility as well. I mean, it's a huge. I'm going to just say, like, in front of everyone, I think you're fantastic for doing that. I've never said that to you in front of a camera, but I do think it's fantastic because I know you put a lot of effort into that, and I know it's a lot of stress and a lot of organisation. But I think it's fantastic what you do. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and you just must have helped thousands of people. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, the Samaritans is a fantastic organisation, and just to reiterate what you said at the beginning of this bit, you do not have to be suicidal to phone Samaritans.
It's not a 999 thing.
No. Some people are. absolutely some people are, but the vast majority of people that call Samaritans just want support, and they want to be able to talk through their problems in a place that's, they know it's confidential, and they know that they're not going to be judged. So it's a safe place for them to talk through problems. You
could argue that if you ring the Samaritans or another organisation or get help or speak to friends before it is a 999 situation, it might not even get there. You could argue that. I bet there's situations where it's actually helped people. So it's a classic man thing, wait till it's really, really last minute. And I've a friend of mine that's just recovered from cancer, the same age as me. He went and got help straight away, and luckily for him he did, because it was a few weeks until it wouldn't have been possible to do what they did. So it's advice for me and all men out there, sweeping statement again, that most men don't ask for help, and it's really, really important to do so.
Interestingly, just going back to that point that was made earlier about men, obviously the Samaritans is completely confidential, and we would never ever
you don't keep any records. You've never told me anything about it. It's just I know the types of things you'll talk about.
It's the most fundamental principle of what the Samaritans do, is that everything is absolutely confidential, and as a Samaritan we will never share any details of anything we've ever discussed with anybody. That gives people a great deal of confidence that they can talk openly. So I think a lot of men, just going, anecdotally from the experience I've had, I think a lot of men call Samaritans as a first step of talking to people.
Because it's confidential. See, I think I'd be happier doing that, because you don't know who I am.
Yeah.
So you can't judge me because you're not in my clique, in my troop, in my circle.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good message to put out there about it. I don't want you to be flooded with phone calls now from men that are worried about the odd thing. But men don't want to tell people they know. I wouldn't tell Callum if I was struggling. Well, actually, Callum and I have had a few good chats about that. But you might not do that to some people in your circle. We were talking last night about how you have like a stage of relationships with people. Like you and I share quite a lot of stuff, but I'll share a lot more with my partner Joe, because you just would. But when I first met you, I wouldn't have shared anything. But now I probably wouldn't share some of these things and some of those. And it's weird. So maybe there's the complete because you're a total stranger at the end of a phone and it's just a voice. Maybe that's why men share more, because it's just an easier thing for them.
I think so. And then it's I think often that's a gateway for people then to begin to trust the people in their lives, because they found that actually it wasn't so bad talking to somebody. It wasn't as bad as they thought. They weren't judged, and the person didn't run away screaming in horror at the thing that they told them. I'm making light of it, but I think really that is what happens, and then that's a gateway for people to start to talk. And going right back to the beginning of what we were talking about earlier, in our lives and in our businesses and in our homes and in our social circles, if we can create a culture where people feel like that,
where it's okay,
then that is the most fantastic starting point, isn't it? And I think there would be far fewer people that get all the way down to the to the lowest possible point if all of us were really aware of trying to create that culture in everything that we do.
Which brings us back to why we're sat here today at BHBN Radio. We want it to be something that people talk about. We're a tiny droplet in the ocean of the internet, but we'd really like people to talk about it more openly. Thank you for all the fantastic comments. Hercules, I think men need to realise it takes more guts to talk about it and show your vulnerabilities. Absolutely true. Chris Compton just says, may I say that you guys are doing an amazing, brilliant job. Well done. You can, and you just did.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the comments on here. It's nearly time for us to say goodbye, actually. I wanted to, as a social media guy, just to put one point in at the end as a point of interest, that social media is a real issue with mental health, because if you're watching this now, you might think we look amazing. There's stuff around here. We've had hair and makeup. I've actually got a cold. I feel like rubbish, but you don't know that. We've got a crew. What you see on social media isn't real. And a lot of the things that you see, people's lives, their Snapchat stories, their filters, their Instagram stories, it's all fake around it. They are also struggling. So it can be a real issue with you sitting at home on your phone, watching your friends have amazing nights out. They also look like shit in the morning. They also sit on the toilet and contemplate life. They also walk, they stub their toe, they shout at their dogs and their kids. They just don't put it on the internet. And I try and put most of my stuff on the internet, but I think, certainly in light of the story that happened last week where a young lad took his own life because of Snapchat and because of bullying, I think you have to be very careful what you watch on the internet. And hopefully what we put on here is just very honest and open, because it is a danger, and we have a huge responsibility to sit here and talk about this. So hopefully we've done it the justice. And that's it. We are going to go back through all these comments, aren't we?
We are. There's loads of comments.
We'll be here for hours, guys. Sorry. You're going to sit here and go through all these comments.
It's a huge privilege to do this, and we are so grateful for everybody that tunes in and watches and shares, so thank you for that. We will respond to absolutely all of your comments, and if there's anything that any of you had wanted to say and didn't feel able to say in the public forum, then please feel free to direct message either of us and we will respond.
We would love you to share this into places where you think people should have heard about it. A few people have said, oh, people should hear about this. Just click the share button at the bottom and write comments above it. You can share it into groups, into pages, and that's not for our own profile. We do this because we want to get this message out there, so if you wanted to share that out there, then that's a really simple way to do it. It's a completely public live broadcast, so you can share it anywhere you like.
We have been Claire and Todd on the sofa.
We have.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, and thank you to BHBN for having us, and we will look forward to seeing you next month. Watch out for an announcement about where we will be and what we will be talking about.
We haven't decided what we're talking about,
we
have we?
Haven't, no. Normally we've decided before the end of our broadcast, but I think this one was so huge, I don't think we had the headspace to do it. No,
and we normally have a random question we throw at each other, but I think we've kind of done that between there, but I'm going to do one anyway, and as I said to you last night, I just make this up right now.
Oh no.
If someone watching this stream thinks that someone is a friend of theirs or a colleague or someone working is struggling with mental health, what's the first thing they should do? That's a tough question.
It's a really tough question, and I can answer that from two different perspectives. I can answer it based on the training that I've had. I work in a voluntary capacity in an environment where most of the people we deal with have mental health issues, but then I've also got my personal experience, and I think truly just find a way to be able to open a conversation, but you need to be so careful that you do that in the right way, and that it's the timing is right. If you try to approach that conversation with somebody in the wrong place or time, you're probably just going to make them retreat further in. So it's about trying to create a space where they're going to feel safe and comfortable to be able to start a conversation. And somebody said earlier on the thread, the best possible question you can ask anybody is, how are you feeling?
How are you feeling? Which was Ian Dixon's a really powerful thing to say.
Yeah.
It's 11:30.
Bang on, we have not gone over.
No, so thank you very much. Thank you to the guys at BHBN Radio as well. We were on there on the airwaves last night and in the studio today. It's been a pleasure to be here. We only got lost twice, which was great. We'll be back next month, in between, possibly in a labour ward. Claire's not having a baby, but Joe is having a baby in about 4 weeks. I did say I'd Facebook live stream the birth. It may just be from a sofa. I don't know.
Yeah.
Joe, that's happening. I put it on the internet now, so that's happening. And,
have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world to us that you tuned in today, and I hope we did the subject some justice.
We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Cheers.